I have to give a little bit of a quieter hello nerds because I'm in a hotel and it's like 5:30 in the morning. So I don't want to wake anyone else up. So welcome to all of our East Coast friends. I'm sure anybody on the West Coast is probably still sleeping. Um, but I just wanted to give an update on the latest numbers because it's been a while since I've done a live stream. I've been doing a little bit of traveling. So let's get right to it and see how we're doing. We're going to go over polling, search trends, betting odds, social media. And then if there are any questions, of course, we can take them. Good morning, J5 Alive. Good morning, Holistic Hottie. You guys must be East Coast because it's early over here on the West Coast right now. Oh, Mindful Skeptics is here. Good morning. All right, so let's start. The Jake Tucker. Yeah, it does have that. It has that vibe, right? Because the lighting. But I'm just in a kind of a let's call it a budget motel. And I'm also whispering because I don't want to wake up the people next door and they'll be like, oh, dude, what's going on with that crazy crazy Asian guy next door screaming into the wall, hello, nerds. Okay, so let's do it. Let's take a look here at the polling numbers. So here we go. Let's start with national numbers. And in the last few days, you've got Yang around 3% in Morning Consult. That was on October 12th. 2%. I'll make this a little bigger for you guys. 2% in Quinnipiac. Oh, God. Yeah. 2% in Quinnipiac. 2% in YouGov. So these are not fantastic numbers. Now, you could argue if there was a post-debate bounce, maybe we just have it that hasn't baked in yet, because when was that debate? I don't even remember the dates anymore. When was October Democratic? It's been a very busy week for me. October 15th. Okay, so it was October 15th, and now let's look at these numbers. These polls, so this 2% showing would be pre-debate. This Economist YouGov one would be, the last day of the debate. So none of these national numbers are reflective of the potential debate bounce. But, at the end of the day, you got to keep it real and acknowledge that you really don't want to be, I think we really want to be closer in the 5% national numbers by now. And so I do feel like we're a little bit behind, but I do have some good news. So the good news is if you look at Iowa, there was a poll that came out that had one day post debate, included October 16th. And here you see Yang at 5. So if you look at how we've done, we've never had 5 before. So like, where are we here? Oh, this is the average for Iowa. We're still in this clump. But as you can see, maybe it's easier to look at the table. As you can see, who is higher than us in Iowa? You've got Warren and Biden tied. Sanders at 13. That's a pretty weak showing for Sanders. Ooh, Buttigieg at 16. And then us. So we are ahead of Harris, Booker, Steyer, who we know who has been pouring money in. What? Bullock. Wow. Bullock has 4. Interesting. So Iowa, you could say this is a pretty good showing. Like, let's see, look, all of the historic Iowa numbers. We've got this 5 here, which is the most recent one. we've been at 0, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 0. We've never been above 3. 3 used to be our personal best in September. And so we jumped quite a bit, 60 something percent over our previous personal best. So that's super encouraging. Let's see how we're doing in New Hampshire. Okay, New Hampshire. Okay, you got 10, 13. So this one is also pre-debate, and we're at 1, although we were at 5 according to CBSU Gov. So I think the takeaway is either that debate probably helped us a little bit, because the poll where we're showing the best, the Iowa one, is the only one that includes post-debate data, whereas this New Hampshire one, ended October 13th, and the debate was on the 15th. So hopefully we see something similar in New Hampshire, and let's look at South Carolina. South Carolina, we are at 1. But again, this one was ended October 11th. So again, does not reflect the, hopefully, post-debate bounce. And why don't we look at Nevada while we're at it? We rarely talk about Nevada, but that's an early state as well. It's on Feb 22nd. Here we're at 3. And that one's way, way old. It's September 26th. So I think TLDR on the polling is that we need to wait a few days to let the next round of polling results come in. But the one result that has a little bit of post-debate data is the Emerson, Iowa poll. And that's the one where we happen to be doing the best. So you never know. Maybe this debate did really well. Okay. So now let's go into the, what do we got next? Let's look at Google searches and Facebook searches. So hold on one second. Share. Okay, so this is the Google search data for, and let's do last 7 days. And what you see here is, okay, you see this big surge basically because of the debate. And I'm just comparing Buttigieg, Harris, Sanders, and Warren, just to make it a little bit easier. And you see basically Buttigieg, wow, he got a lot of searches. So he definitely had a good showing. I think part of it was the way the camera was set up. They showed 4 candidates: Biden, Warren, Sanders, and Buttigieg. So he definitely got a lot of face time, even if he didn't get that much more talk time, although he also got more talk time. Again, Yang was sort of in the bottom third in getting talk time, but I feel like he did probably best. You could see he was way more comfortable. And then Yang had similar searches to Harris and Sanders, and a little bit less than Warren. And then if you look at, that's at 8 p.m. Now, if we go forward and see where did you get sort of residual search activity, then you see Yang really actually leading the pack. And then if you go to October 16th, the day after the debate, you've got still strong showing for Yang, but Buttigieg, Sanders, and Warren, generating a lot of interest. And then lately, I guess October 17th, which was yesterday, we had nice activity for Yang. Wonder what happened yesterday. Let's see here. Past day. What was going on? What? A lot of searches for Yang at 6:30 Pacific yesterday. Let's see if we can find what the search terms were. Jordan Wiseman. Huh. Who is Jordan Wiseman? Andrew Yang, Jordan Wise. How do we spell Wiseman? 2 S's, 2 N's. Okay. Oh. Oh, he's a Slate piece. Publish a Slate piece. Ooh. Not exactly a super positive piece. Basically taking issue with Yang's predictions about automation. Then they have the exchange between him and Warren. AP fact check claim that Yang was right. You know what? I'll take this article. I think if they're talking about us, that's a good thing, even if it's not the most positive. So I guess that's what drove a lot of interest. Stagecoach, Rachel Maddow. Yeah, he was on Maddow. So that's cool. So I would say in terms of searches, let's go back to the last 7 days. Over the last 7 days in total, you've got Warren definitely getting more than us, then Sanders, and then us. Sanders, you could probably discount because there's still so much interest over his health issues. And we're ahead of Buttigieg and certainly ahead of Harris. I mean, I think Harris is really the yellow line here. You know, you don't want to be this yellow line. I don't think that's a good looking place. That's not a good look. And then we talked about the searches, about Wiseman. And yeah, let's see what people were searching for our friendly competitors. Buttigieg, Pocket Change, Harris. Wow, Ron Reagan. What's going on with Ron Reagan and Harris? Ron Reagan, Harris. Atheist group. Oh, he did a plug. Interesting. What does that have to do with Harris, though? Control Harris. Interesting. Not sure. All right. Well, let's focus on the data. So let's look at YouTube searches. Oh God, we so own YouTube. I've as you can tell, I've not looked at this data myself till this live stream, but we are crushing it on YouTube. So hats off to all the folks out there making great YouTube content, not just the official campaign, but all the Yang Gang content creators. You guys are killing it. And we should just keep doing that because I think this will be a great advantage for us. Yeah, who else is doing good on YouTube? Elizabeth Warren. What is her YouTube presence looking like? Let's see. Elizabeth Warren. I wonder if there are a lot of channels about the Warren campaign. Not really. I don't think she has quite like the equivalent of the Warren gang. And there's some, but most of these don't have that many subscribers. But then if you do the same thing for Andrew Yang, and then we filter by channels, you see Grassroots 7,000, Paget 15,000, PSP 12,000. So Yang Gang HQ, Make America Think Harder. So Zach and Matt, those guys are working hard. Yeah, so I would say we are still clearly winning the race for YouTube searches. And specifically, while we really do well on the West Coast and a little bit of the East Coast, and we struggle in the Midwest, which is not fantastic, although, yeah, Iowa. Freaking Warren. Warren and Sanders have more YouTube action than we do. So in Iowa, which obviously is very important. We are number 3. And then in New Hampshire, we are number 2, tied with Bernie. So that's looking pretty good. So shout out to Steve Marchand for working hard in New Hampshire. What about South Carolina? Ooh, number 1 in South Carolina searches. I like that. Okay, this is all YouTube again. So that is that's that for the social. So in summary so far, polling national, too early to tell, don't have any data post debate. But honestly, like, I think those numbers need to be higher. I won't be happy personally until we get over 5%. But we just got to keep working at it. Now, we did get 5% exactly in the Iowa poll, which did have 1 day out of 3 of post-debate representation. So that's encouraging. So the next few days, we should hopefully see some interesting polling results. And then in search activity, you gotta give credit to Warren. She definitely is doing very well in Google search. We are still leading the way on YouTube search nationally, but Warren is leading the way on YouTube search in Iowa, which is a challenge for us. Okay, let's see. Oh, you know what? Yang Gang Media is saying, why don't we consolidate into one channel? Yeah, I don't know that we can easily do that. You can't really transfer your subs, but certainly all of the YouTube channels should be promoting each other. So whenever you can, give a shout out. Paget, Kai Watson, Problem Solver Politics, Zach and Matt, guys, everybody subscribe to each other. Like, we're all in it together. Okay, now let's look at betting odds. Hold on one second. Okay, so this is the predicted betting odds. And as you can see here, we are number 5. I think we might have been number 4 in the past, so we may have dropped a little bit on betting odds. Bernie probably picked up a little. And you've got Buttigieg. Wow, Buttigieg is now looking pretty good. Harris and Klobuchar are pretty weak. Cory Booker, very weak. So I would say we're way ahead of Harris. So overall, this is looking good. I would have expected Bernie to have dropped further given the health concerns. And frankly, I would have expected Biden to drop further. And I'm a little frustrated that Buttigieg had the pickup. I know there's a down arrow here, but I think he's higher than he might have been in the past. I think he had a good debate showing, so you got to give him credit. There is another betting odds site. Let's take a look at that one. Last week. So according to election betting odds, you've got us, 3.6% chance. I cannot believe that people are still talking about Hillary. If the DNC picks Hillary as our candidate, I'll vote for her, but I won't work too hard because I feel like, come on, DNC, you just got to learn your lesson. But yeah, so according to election betting odds, you got Warren and Biden. Wow, Warren's now really leading the way, 50% chance. We have got to catch her. And then I think they have a nice chart as well. Yep. Let's see here. You got Warren. My God, look at that chart. if you are a Warren supporter, you are feeling good about this chart. Although it did drop a little bit. Let's see. It was actually has dropped since the debate. So on the 13th, she was at 52, and now she's at 47.8. So that's encouraging for us in terms of people trying to catch her. But in fairness, if you look at us, we were at 3.9 before the debate, and now we are 3.7. So according to the gamblers, our debate didn't really change us too much. Although, again, that Iowa primary poll is encouraging. All right, so now let's look at social, Twitter. So this is comparing Yang, Buttigieg, and Harris. The TLDR here is, if you look at these lines, we're the red. We are absolutely closing the gap on Buttigieg little by little. And then Harris, probably almost similar amount of growth. But here's the daily ads here. So on the, let's say, 18th, we added 3,000. Buttigieg is 4,000. Harris is 3,800. On, let's say, the 15th, the day of the debate, let's do the 16th. Day after the debate, we added 10,000. Buttigieg 4, Harris 3. So I would say that debate definitely helped us. And then if you look at sort of long-term trends, we would pass Buttigieg, and we would close in. And if you extend this out further, we would probably pass Harris at the current rate of growth. So that is that. Let me just now stop and see if there are any questions people have. We'll take some questions and then we'll wrap it up because, the screen froze. You couldn't see the Twitter. Oh, shit. Oh, my bad. Let's go to the Twitter. You're right. I didn't change it. My bad. Here we go. You guys want to see the Twitter data. Okay. Boom. Share. Okay. So repeat. It'll be even more efficient the second time around. So here's the total followers. You see us closing the gap. We're the red line. And we are closing the gap with Buttigieg and Harris. And here is your daily additions. And if you look at October 16th, which is the day after the debates were done, we added 10,000, Buttigieg 4,000, Harris 3,500. And then if you look at the long-term projected growth based on the daily ads, we are projected to pass Buttigieg, and eventually we would pass Harris as well if you go out far enough. Obviously, the election is, going to be around November of 2020. So by then, we will have tied Buttigieg and we'll have closed the gap on Harris, but she had a pretty big gap. So hopefully we will accelerate our growth. But that's the story for the Twitter growth. Okay. So I hope the right chart. Now you guys saw the Twitter stuff, and I hope you saw the charts for the betting odds and the searches, because I would have just been talking to myself. What questions do you guys have for me, or should we wrap up? If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. Before we get to those, let me just give you a summary of how I'm feeling about the campaign if you're interested. I'm feeling good, but I also feel like the clock is ticking. So, it's let's look at the election calendar. So primary Democratic primary calendar. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen one more time. let's just do this. Be easier. All right. We are now gearing up for the November debates, the fifth debate. And when do the primaries start? So, hey, where's the here we go. Okay, here it is. February 3rd. So we are already in mid-October. Iowa is, November, December, Jan, it's a few months from now. And once that ball starts rolling, a week later or 8 days later, you got New Hampshire. 11 days later, you've got Nevada. 7 days after that, you got South Carolina. It's interesting how we often talk about South Carolina, but actually Nevada is before South Carolina. And then if you fast forward, you've got, when is Super Tuesday? Wow, this is all on March 3rd. This whole thing is Super Tuesday. So you've got, on March 3rd, you've got California, massive amount of delegates. Arkansas, North Carolina, Texas, Virginia, all on the same day. So basically, between now, mid-October, and Super Tuesday, first week of March, you got December, January, February, 3 months, right? So I know people are pretty, optimistic, saying they don't want us to peak too early, but it's October, guys, and Iowa's in February. I'm ready to break 5% personally. Okay, so let's see. Someone was asking something. All right, so let me just go to the top here and we'll go through. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, for sharing the wrong chart. Since I'm traveling, when I'm doing it from home, I have multiple computers, and I'm just doing the one computer thing. Okay. Lin Yi Zhang is saying, please look at the political analysis. All right, let's see. Political. See if I can find the analysis you're talking about. I'm not seeing an obvious one on Politico. I see a lot of news about the disaster of the Trump presidency. If you guys know the link to that political story, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll look for it. Okay, so now let's look at some questions from you guys. Yeah, everybody agrees the mainstream media loves Pete. They do. They do. And I agree that he laughed at Yang for the UBI stuff. Well, I think he was laughing because Yang did an opening where he kind of offered a prize. But I agree. Buttigieg is not my favorite. What do you think about the atmosphere in other campaigns? Are we have? Well, I think if you had a poll that measured enthusiasm, and actually there are polls that do this, and I think maybe in a future live stream we can look at some of that data. Or shit, maybe we try it right now. Let's live dangerously. Hold on a second. I'm going to try and show you something, but I have not prepared, so we'll see if this will work. Okay, let's look at some. If I can get into the YouGov, usually has some nice crosstabs. Boom. Here we go. Let's say favorability of Yang. So if you look at favorability of Yang, this is the latest YouGov data. I think it was like October 13th or something. You've got 8% very favorable for Yang and 38% that don't know. So there are 62% who do know, and 8% of those 62%, so that's about 15% of those who do know really like Yang. Okay. Now, if you look at favorability of, so just remember around 15% are of those who know are very favorable. Now, if you go back up, goodness, to favorability of Warren, she has 22% favorable and 80% that are familiar with her. So actually, well, the numbers don't lie, guys. she has quite a strong favorability rating. Now, maybe if we look at the unfavorable, she has 32% that are unfavorable. So that's going to be the Warren challenge. Whereas if you look at Yang, see if we can scroll down to Yangi. Come on, Yangi. Need a better way. Yang has only 17% unfavorable. Now you could say, well, since he has so many people who don't know, some of those will become unfavorable. But when 1 out of 3 people have an unfavorable view of Warren, you know, that's not a great place to be. And let's look at Biden, actually. Hold on. Favorability of Biden. You know, he has a 30% unfavorable as well. How is it that 15% of people don't know who Joe Biden is? That's just nuts. But yeah, that's so 1 out of 3 don't like Biden or Warren. And then Yang was, I think, let's see again. Jet lag is hitting me. Yang at only 70%, 17% unfavorable. So, you know, to answer your question, Ankit, I think the if you look at the rallies, if you look at the people creating content, if you look at social, if you look at searches, I would say our atmosphere is the atmosphere of a campaign gaining momentum. And I think Biden is kind of flat or losing. I will say I think Warren is gaining a little momentum too. So we're not the only ones. Let's see. What hotel are you staying in? Not a very fancy one. And the coffee it's those little Keurig cups. Do you want us to repost the questions? Yes. Yes, please, Daniel. When does the AMA start? I think the AMA starts in a few hours, but I'll tell you exactly. Yang AMA. He's going to start at 2:30 Eastern on Reddit. So 2:30 Eastern. What is your gut feeling? Is Yang going to be the nominee, yes or no? That's a tough one. I hate to say it, but oops, alarm. I hate to say it, but I think I think we will need to beat the odds. And I know a lot of people in the Yang Gang have a mindset of abundance, and I want that too. But I'm just looking at the data. And in my opinion, if you've got Super Tuesday first week of March and you're now in October, you're going to want to be at least 5% in November, and then 10% in December, and then 15, 20% in January, and 20, 25% in February, so that you can basically really start shaking things up. And I will say this, if we are at the end of December, not in the 5 to 10% range, then I think we need to start throwing some Hail Marys. Now, anything can happen, but the reason why I'm a little bit less optimistic than I was before is you had Bernie literally have a heart attack. You had Biden, whose son is accused of not illegal, but unethical kind of commercial relationships with foreign companies. And then you've got Warren, who isn't, in my opinion, that strong of a candidate, and they're all doing really, really well. And maybe this is because of the impeachment, or maybe that Democratic kind of base is just really calcified, and they're backing who they're backing. So yeah, that's my thing. Let's see. Next question. Let's see. Where will Andrew's Q&A be? It will be on Reddit. So I'm guessing if you go to Twitter and look at Yang's feed, he'll probably have links to it. Heidi, yeah, I agree with you, Heidi. We gotta, look, hey, I'm pro Yang 1000%. I've given a lot of money. I put a lot of time into doing content. And I know people think polls are undercounting. But even if they are undercounting, if we're going to be the nominee, they can't be undercounting that much for us to be happy with a 2 or 3% national polling. Let's see. Next question. Do you think Yang should focus on podcasts and YouTube talk shows, or should he focus on the national media and TV ads? Honestly, I think we're doing plenty of podcasts and YouTube talk shows. And I think the people we need to reach are older people, white people, Black people, and those demographics don't over-index on Twitter and YouTube. They're there, but I think if you look at what Tom Steyer has done, he poured a lot of money in, but he's able to go from he's pretty a weak candidate, in my opinion. And he's able to get his way onto these debate stages, mainly because he bought a lot of media. And I think there's an open question about when you raise 10 million in the last period and you keep raising money, do you kind of play the long game and try and just stay alive? Or do you try and buy some awareness? And I would be tempted to buy some awareness, honestly, because if imagine this, if Yang actually broke 5 in the nationals, I think he would then raise more money, because all of us would be like, oh yeah, he's doing it, let's give even more. And so if you just stretch out the money you have and you're still at the 2 or 3 national rate, I think at some point the money will dry up. Whereas if you lean into it and you can boost their numbers, combined with good debate performances and all the media and all the work we're doing, that's how you start this kind of flywheel, in my opinion. How brutal does Yang need to be with Biden? Would going into attack mode get the attention? It's an interesting question, because when Warren said, oh, I just haven't seen the data about automation at the debate, I was so like, every bone in my body wanted, if I were Yang, I would have been like, Senator Warren, you have made your entire campaign about how you have a plan for everything. You've publicly said you don't think automation is a problem. And now you're admitting that you haven't looked at the data. Isn't this a concern? Because I have looked at the data, and the data is very clear. Automation is real. It's affected millions of manufacturing jobs, and it's about to do the same to retail, clerical, truckers, down the line. And the fact that you haven't looked at the data, frankly, gives me pause. Now, Andrew's smart. I mean, I think if he goes too hard on Warren, he would have been like what I just did. I think he would have been accused of mansplaining, and he would have turned off a lot of women voters. And so I think he took the high road, which, you know, in general in life, it's always good to take the high road. Let's see. Who's qualified for November? I think there's 8, but let's take a look. Who's qualified November debate? And let's share the screen. So for November, it's these blue check marks here. Oh my God, Steyer. Jesus. See, this is why when you buy traditional media and you buy a lot of online, you know, money moves awareness. This guy, nobody heard of Steyer before, right? And he's qualified when Castro, Klobuchar, O'Rourke, Gabbard have not. So far you've got 8 that are qualified. And I would love for there to be less people on that debate stage, frankly. Obviously, I think that's a good thing for us. Okay. What did you think of the debate? I think Yang did great. So thanks, Zach and Matt, for posting everything Yang said stuff. But I will say that I also think when I read all of the post-debate analysis, Yang was just not in the conversation. People were really focused on Warren and, you know, her battle, like how all the moderates were going after Warren, basically. So let's see. Next question. Yang needs, yeah, I think that would be amazing. I think it would totally be amazing, and I would totally support buying a massive ad in a huge showing. I think that would be great. But you know what? We don't control the budget, but we could help give him some more money. Let's see. Is there a way to see the number of new Democratic registrations? I don't think I've seen that data, and I don't think they release it. But I would imagine that we have a disproportionate number of new registrations, because I think we have a lot of disgruntled Republicans switching over. Isn't Andrew Yang's CV impressive? It is. It's super impressive, but you got to give credit to Buttigieg. He is, I think, Harvard undergrad, Rhodes Scholar. You got Warren, professor at Harvard Law. I mean, Yang, you've got Andover, Brown, Columbia. I mean, these guys they're legit, all of them. At least those 3 that I mentioned, in terms of their academic background. How many coverage you see about the impressive Andrew? Yeah, not enough. What is your overall rating for each candidate of the debate? I think Biden got like a C+, maybe a B-, mainly because he didn't say anything stupid. He was also off the hot seat. Warren, I think I would give her a B-, because I think it's so weird how she's unwilling to talk about why taxes will go up when we go to single payer. Of course they will go up. That's like math. But she refuses to say those words, which only makes it a bigger issue for her. And I think now if she says those words, if I were advising her, I would just say it. But anyway, Buttigieg, I think, did really well. Maybe a B. And Yang, I would give him like a B plus because he kind of beat expectations, but it's like, I mean, what does this guy need to do for the media to talk about him more? Like if Buttigieg or if Castro had a similar performance to Yang, he would be on all the shows right away. So I think, and I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, you know, don't care about the pundits. They're always wrong. They are wrong a lot, but there are more people that will consume content from the pundits and actually watch the debate, which is why you really do want to win over those pundits. And for some reason, we just didn't do it. Did Steyer gain anything? No, I think he's still kind of stuck in the doldrums. But we'll see. The post-debate polls are not yet out yet. Did you hear about the daily cost poll controversy? I did. I saw it on Twitter. I don't know if it was real or not. It looked too crazy to be true, but basically, I mean, the assertion was that they pulled down their poll because Yang was doing too well. I mean, the Yang gang does represent on those online polls. Oh, people are saying when's the AMA? It says it's 10. Well, let's take a look. Let's here. Share screen. Twitter. Maybe we go to a site. Friday, October 18th. It says all day long. At least that's what he says on his main website. And then here he says 10 a.m. Eastern. Oh, I thought I saw him say something else. So 10 a.m. Eastern. I mean, according to the man himself, right? And that was just posted an hour ago. So it looks like it'll be 10 a.m. Eastern, and he will be ready to go. So thank you, Curse Fanatic, and all who corrected me. Any other questions? Who won the debate? I think Warren, unfortunately. Do you think you would be able to run? Not this cycle, and this is the one that matters. Who won? Warren. Who lost the debate? I would say Biden. Biden kind of like almost literally disappeared. You know, he just sort of, he's no longer relevant. I would also say that Bernie did better than expected. Like it just showing up being peppy really helped him. Do the polls only count Dems? The polls for favorability count both, but for which candidate you support is just Dems because they are the ones that are participating in the primaries. Let's see. Yeah, Rosemary agrees that we need to get the older people. We suck with the older people. I'll show you as an example. I haven't looked at the latest YouGov numbers, but let's just see. Where was it? Oh, no. Here it is. Okay. Look at this. Not favorability. Goodness. Maybe it's at the top. Control F. So if you look at favorability and you look at old 65 and older, he only has 5% very favorable, and he actually has 26% very unfavorable, the highest unfavorability of all. And then 1 out of 3 still don't know who he is. But I would be most concerned about this. You know, what's interesting is like if you're 65 and older and you're collecting Social Security, and you got the freedom dividend, an extra $1,000 a month would be such a huge deal. Like, I know it would be for my mom, but she's not a Yang supporter either. So I guess that's proof that the data sometimes reflects reality. Okay, let's see. Move on to more questions. Let's just say Andrew is elected. Wouldn't that make, that's been kind of asked and answered. I'll tell you this. Think about like Christmas. A lot of people get bonuses at work. You don't see prices go up in the stores around Christmas time. In fact, they go down, especially right after Christmas. And then if you want, there is I'll show you a video that I did interviewing Scott Santens, where we basically dig into this exact question. I'll just show you so you can find it later. So if you go to videos, go to the Nerds for Yang channel, and then let's see if I can search here, inflation. Yeah. This video, 6 minutes long, Scott basically explains why we probably will not have too much inflation, if any. Nerds for Yang Super PAC. Well, honestly, like, I'm not a big fan of Super PACs, but I want this man elected. And if we need Super PACs to buy more media, I'm fine with that, honestly. Because I trust Andrew. I know he's an honest guy. I don't know. I've never met him. But I feel like my sense is that he's an honest guy, that he's not going to try and profit from being president. Donated money. What's going to happen to Yang's money if he's not the nominee? Well, I think he'll probably spend all of it and throw a Hail Mary when he realizes that he's running out of time. I did watch the interview. I thought it went pretty well. I thought it was a good interview. I felt like Rachel felt bad that she kind of didn't give him enough time in the past. So maybe she's coming around. Do you think it would make a powerful statement if Yang nominated a Republican VP? Well, maybe, but he'd have to get the nomination himself first before he nominates his running mate. And that's the problem. Thunder Horse. Yeah, I agree. Pete did come across a little bit. I mean, that's the problem. When you start drawing contrasts with other candidates, you run the risk of coming across like a jerk. How do we watch Yang answer questions? That's a great question. I would probably go to the main site in one tab, the Yang 2020 site. And then I would go to that Reddit, the Reddit one where he's doing the AMA. Harvard has lost a lot of brand status these last years. Well, yeah, but not as much as Wharton. What can we do to help local Yang gangs get more organized? I think the thing that Steve Marchand said was the best thing you can do is do phone banking and text banking, which you can easily find. I'll show you. If you go to Yang 2020 and whoa, it's a takeover. No, I want to go to the regular. Hide this. And you go to events. So Paget showed me the trick. And then you go to, you look down here, you can see signature gathering, door knocking. Ooh, boba, delicious. Usually there's something around phone banking. Let me see if I can find it. Remote, maybe. Huh. Well, I guess they're prioritizing it. So maybe what they're saying is they need the most help with this higher priority little label. Showing up at rallies and mainly gathering signatures. I think it looks like signatures is their biggest thing, more so than phone banking at the moment, at least. So I would just go to the website and do anything that they say is high priority. Let's see. Can you go dark mode on desktop? Yeah, okay. Sorry. I'll try and do that next time. I know you guys don't like the bright mode. Yeah, Harris. I think Harris is done. Yeah, Pete has a crap load of offices in Iowa. If you want to see it, there's a chart about that. Let's see if I can find it. Hold on. I'm sorry, guys. You're going to see some brightness. I think it was in New York Times, maybe, or how many offices in Iowa does each candidate? Here it is. Maybe it was this one. I thought there was a chart somewhere. Oh, I want a chart, bros. I actually tweeted it out. Let me find on my Twitter. If I can't find it, I'm going to give up shortly. But I'm pretty sure I tweeted this shit out. See? Okay. Oh, it was in New York Times. Yeah. So this is how many offices each candidate has in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada. So Buttigieg has 47 offices. This is what happens when you raise 35 million bucks. Warren has 47. Yang only has 6. Now, I think this number will go up since he raised a little bit more money. But like South Carolina, just a month ago, they had Jermaine Johnson, he himself and I, right? Just like him alone. Now they've obviously grown that team. But if you look at Buttigieg, that mofo has 4, 7, 11, 13 New Hampshire offices. We have 2. So, and then you've got Steyer, who's basically spending all of his money on buying media. I think the power punch is if you have lots of offices and you can buy media, then, magic starts happening. Anyway, how do we get him? I think he won't endorse anybody. I think if he endorses anybody, it'll be kind of a slight on his VP. And that won't be cool. So he's going to stay out of it. Do you think Warren is misinformed about automation or just ignorant? I actually think she hasn't done her homework. And so I don't think she's misinformed. She's just not informed. Because she's, her solution to every problem is to basically stick it to the big banks and the big corporations and the billionaires. And I think Yang takes a much less kind of adversarial approach and says, look, there's going to be big banks, big companies, billionaires. Let's just have a VAT tax and collect more of it. And then basically, I hate to use the word, but redistribute some of those tax proceeds so that everybody has a floor, which seems much more efficient than just saying you're going to break up these companies. So Ankit says, hey, he has 10 times more offices, but only 2.5 more in polls. That's true. There's probably some point of diminishing returns, but given how important South Carolina and Nevada are, you could argue like you should have more than one office. Maybe you don't need to have 14 offices in each state, but you probably need more than one, which is kind of where we're at. I think he has a few now. I think we have a few now in Iowa. Yeah, I totally agree. Boomers have, I don't think they realize how huge a game changer UPI would be for them. But this is why, but they're also not on YouTube as much, and they're definitely not on Twitter as much. So that's a problem. Do you think Yang should have answered Mattow's questions? You know, it's interesting. I watched that and I was thinking, well, is he going to name a country or two? I think there's two explanations. Number one is he may not have known a country off the top of his head, and he didn't want to guess and then be caught saying like, you know, whatever, El Salvador, and when he really meant Nicaragua or something like that, or Cuba when he really meant Haiti or something. So he could have been just like not ready to give a specific. More likely, I think he wanted to avoid a headline which would have read on Fox News like Yang accuses America of Russian style election meddling. And like that might be true, but I don't think the optics would be great. And a lot of people may say, oh, he's anti-American. And this is where you now get into a little bit of the racial stuff where, yeah, I don't know, maybe Buttigieg or Warren could get away with it, but I think Yang needs to be careful about that stuff. So let's see. Next question. Is there data on ethnic group polling? Yes, there is. Let me just give you a quick look. So if you look at favorability for Yang by race, it goes from very favorable to very unfavorable and then don't know. So where we have the most favorability is Black and Hispanic. Where we have the most unfavorability is with white people and other. Although there's a significant number of Hispanics who are unfavorable. So we're actually, I would say, if you add up very favorable and somewhat, we're 30% with the African-American voter, which is actually great progress because we used to not have that much strong support from African-American voters, from Black voters. So that's really encouraging, especially for South Carolina. 29% somewhat or very is great. And then even for whites, 30. So I think our biggest challenge is you've got a pretty significant unfavorable with whites, and then you've got this don't know, you know, half of the Black voters and 40% of Hispanic voters don't have any knowledge of Yang. And still 1 out of 3 white voters don't have any knowledge of Yang. So, you know, in summary, I would say in terms of support from ethnic groups, based on my recent looking at over time, I think we're doing way better with Black voters, which is great. Hispanics have always been a strong suit for us, and I think we need to work on those white voters, and mostly older white voters we're weak as shit for those guys. How would a recession change things? Well, if we had a recession, I could argue the number one stimulus that would be most amazing would be the freedom dividend. So I think in some ways it would even be more powerful in a recession. Of course, nobody wants a recession because that would be tough for all of us. But I think UBI would be a very compelling policy when you think about if you're in a recession and you're like, oh, Warren wants to basically have single payer and everybody on private insurance is going to lose it in the middle of a recession. Like, doesn't feel fantastic. But if Yang's like, how about an extra $1,000 a month in everybody's pocket? Like, that's pretty awesome. How will tiered firearm licensing and assault style weapons ban coexist? I think basically assault weapons are at the highest tier, and so they would be almost banned or have so many requirements that we wouldn't, you know, it wouldn't have be nearly as accessible. What question did you submit for today's Q&A? I actually didn't because I'm getting ready for the Nerds for Yang interview of Andrew Yang one-on-one. We have it scheduled actually for in next week. So hopefully we can publish it soon after. So thanks to everybody who donated to the Yang campaign through the Nerds for Yang link, because if it weren't for you guys supporting and paying through that link, we would not have been able to get him on the show. So keep an eye out and make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Next question. Are we in trouble? I think we are. I mean, I don't think we're screwed, but we're kind of like in the middle of the pack, and there's only so many laps to go. So if we're not at 5% by December, I think we need to start throwing all the, pulling all the stops and doing everything we can and throwing the kitchen sink out to solve this problem. Oh, Sydney says phone banking is no longer available. Okay, yeah, I'm a little bit behind. So it sounds like the signature gathering is what they really want help with. And in some ways, I kind of respect the fact that the campaign is adapting and kind of directing volunteer efforts to where they need the most help. Oh, off-putting to whom? If you're asking me, I think if Yang went too hardcore against Warren, I think it would be conflated with mansplaining and sort of sexist, kind of like, oh, you're a woman, therefore you didn't look at the data. And that would be a very negative story. So that's why I was saying I think it was okay that Yang kind of pulled some punches, because we need that woman vote. Because when you look at the data, let's look at it real quick. For women, female, you still have 48% who don't know who Andrew Yang is, whereas 20% of males. So we have a lot of work to do getting that unknown to become known. And then in terms of favorability, you have 37%. Wow, males are 37% favorable for Yang. Wow, that is amazing. And only 25% for females. So we got work to do on the females, which is why we got to be careful with how we compete with Warren. We got to do it in a way that's kind of, respectful and doesn't get mistaken as anything negative. Okay. We aren't all delusional. I agree. The numbers are what they are, right? But we have time. It's sort of like a Seahawks game where you're behind and you're entering the fourth quarter. Magical things can happen, but we gotta make it happen. With Yang Gang, yeah, getting him on anything where older people are watching is great. Chin up, Tom. Yeah, I hear you. I know I'm coming across a little negative. I'm also jet lagged because I've been traveling a lot. Does your mom watch Chinese TV papers? She used to. Now she watches Fox News. And that's why my mom and I don't really talk about politics a lot. How much growth in Yang Gang grew after debate? So after the day after, we had the biggest Twitter growth, at least compared to Harris, Buttigieg, and Warren. We had 10,000. Let's see. How can we show the elderly the money? I don't know, man. But we have to, because I know there's a lot of elderly who are struggling, and $1,000 a month would be awesome. Andrew, what are your ideas about potential Hail Marys he could throw? Okay. I'm just going to brainstorm for a second, but I wouldn't do this, but he could go negative. He could say, hey, he could go negative on the media, which he kind of did in the third debate, where he said, hey, this is a reality show kind of thing. Or maybe it was the second debate. I'm not sure. He could go negative on Trump, but then, well, it's an option. And he could go negative on Warren. So those are some Hail Marys. Another one would be taking the millions of dollars he's raised and buying like a primetime, Monday Night Football spot, or spots on 60 Minutes, doing like direct mail to older people, that kind of stuff. or he could try and stage like one mega rally. Maybe the Yangapalooza stuff is similar. But I would say the biggest Hail Marys are probably around taking the gloves off and not being always Mr. Nice Guy. And then even bigger would be spending a ton of money on a big ad buy. And the risk is like, man, that money will go, and if it doesn't work, you're kind of screwed. But it's sort of like, if any of you guys play poker, it's like going all in. And I don't think we need to make that decision now, but we may need to think about it. We may need to pull a Hail Mary move, I think, in December to kind of line us up for a really great Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. Like, I wouldn't want to throw the Hail Mary after December, frankly. Okay. Do you think Warren's going to adopt VAT? No, I think she's really in love with the wealth tax. And, that's the thing with Warren. She seems like she gives a sense like she has all the answers, and she's kind of, dismissive of other people's plans. And I think Klobuchar raised that point, saying, hey, just because you have an idea doesn't mean the other ideas aren't useful. Let's see. Have you mentioned the International Basic Income marches next weekend? No, but apparently there are some international basic income marches next weekend. I think it's the future. It's just the way you got to go. Yes, Q&A starts at 10 a.m. Eastern. And are we getting to the bottom of these questions? Maybe. How do we watch? Go on the website, yang2020.com, or you can go on Reddit. You're not doing the interview live? No, I don't think we can. Where I think we're going to do it on and pre-record it, just to reduce the risk of something going wrong. But maybe in the future. But I am working on something. I'll give you guys a little heads up. I am working on something that will involve more Yang access, and I'll share more about it after we do this next interview. Is this the YouTube channel he's going to be streaming on? No, I don't think so. I think he's going to be streaming on his own, the official Yang channel. The Yang Nerds for Yang will not be streaming. 5% in Iowa. Yep. Let's see. When is he introducing his wife and kids? I heard that he was going to sort of do more of that, but I haven't seen it happen yet. So I also respect, maybe they're not ready to do that. That's a pretty big step for a family, and maybe his wife, Evelyn, doesn't want to be in the spotlight. I hear it. Don't a lot of older folks watch Maddow? Yeah, but we were just on Maddow. So I bet if you counted how many times like Booker has been on Maddow, or Warren, well, I guess not Warren, because Warren doesn't. You notice one thing is Warren does not sit for interviews. Neither does Biden, which I think is kind of BS. I think they're hiding from us. Let's see. I don't know how many people watch the debate, but I know a lot of people watch the news reporting on the debate, and that's where not getting a lot of mentions really hurts us. Yeah, totally. We need to get him on the hot ones. Although that again would help us with the demographic what we don't need help with, which is younger internet savvy people. Let's see. I think Tom, please. Oh, getting Axe in the Yang Gang would be amazing. You would think he's probably going to wait and see. And he's probably talking to Warren, because that's probably the safer bet, in his opinion. Is that actually Fred? Yeah. Fred's the real deal. Fred's here, man. So let's see. Fred in the house. Okay, I think we hit all the questions, guys. Whew. Do you think Pete decimated Tulsi in the debate? No. I don't. I don't. I do think that Tulsi didn't do as well as she did in the past debates because she was really pushing the endless war thing. And I think she perhaps conflated having US troops as a deterrent in the northern part of Syria with us trying to do a regime change. But anyway, that's it. All right. Guys, it's an hour and 15 minutes, and I actually have to get on to my next thing in the calendar. So I just wanted to summarize polls, national week, like 3%-ish, but they don't reflect the post-debate bump, so we'll have to wait a few days. However, polls in Iowa did have 1 day of post-debate included out of 3, and that's where Yang had a 5% best ever showing, so that's great. Searches, Warren really was strong. Yang was like 2 or 3 for web searches. For YouTube searches, Yang leads the way, number 1. And then in Twitter, everybody's growing. Yang's growing a little faster, but he has so much to gain, so much of a gap that he's still not passing Pete or Harris yet. And betting odds still 4th or 5th, not looking great, partly because I think Bernie is holding up better than people expected after the heart attack. Warren had a good showing. Biden didn't put his foot in his mouth. So we don't just need Andrew to do really well. We need the front runners to kind of stumble a little more, and that's not yet happening. And then in summary, you know what, guys, it's October. We need to start making it happen. And I think I will ask Yang about that in my interview with him, if he doesn't already get to it in this day of AMAs, so I'll ask him to expand on, like, all right, like, we all don't want to peak early, but it's October. What's the line chart you see from now until Super Tuesday? So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for sticking around, and we will see you next time. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And I've got a lot more content coming, so we'll see you next time. Keep it real.